So Martin Archer, top fan, says personal and Apollo related, discounting Armstrong if he had to spend 2 weeks in Earth orbit on a Gemini mission, sharing stories and body odors of all kinds included. Which Apollo astronaut would you prefer to endure that with? Okay, great question. Great question. Well, absolutely Neil would have been my first choice. I have to give this a moment of serious thought. My knee jerk reaction is to say John Young. Yeah, it would be either John Young or Dave Scott. Um, Lovell would be interesting, but um, but after Armstrong, I admired John Young the most, especially just his career and when he was flying the first shuttle mission with Bob Crippen. He just looked like he had that thing completely aced. I remember when they finished that first flight to Columbia, Young and Crippen got out of the aircraft and they had these trucks around that were supposed to like blow away this potentially dangerous vapor. So it was at least 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer, before they could get out of the vehicle after they'd landed it. Uh, but I remember watching Young and Crippen come down out of the orbiter and walking around the base of it and looking up at it, and they were just both going like, "Yes!" Just like they're just so happy with it. Dave Scott is a guy who I think didn't get nearly enough airplay, and some really nasty, I thought some very unfair things happened to him. Ringhun says Mattingly would be high on the list, but I think it'd probably be John Young um, or Dave Scott. Now, I put almost everything I knew into that Apollo series. And there's only one or two places where I specifically and purposely did not include something I knew. And one of those had to do with Apollo 15 and Dave Scott. Because after that mission was over, there was an enormous scandal about how Scott and Irwin had flown like a bunch of stamps and other memorabilia to the lunar surface to sell as, this has been to the moon. You can buy these things, they're available. Um, so it came down on Apollo 15, and it came down on Dave Scott because he was the commander of it. Now, I don't know the exact details of this, but my understanding is that this kind of thing, it goes back to the Mercury program, when 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 the astronauts would take little things. There's a scene in The Right Stuff about Gus Grissom taking little plastic capsules up. Um, uh, so he he got in a lot of trouble for it, but this was considered to be almost like a retirement plan for the astronauts because these guys were not making a lot of money. They really weren't making a lot of money, um, and and there was no real retirement plan other than the military pension and so on and so forth. And it was just something that everybody did on every mission. But somehow the press got a hold of it on Apollo 15, and Scott and the crew of Apollo 15 and the mission all got tarnished. And I didn't put it in the show because I thought it was unfair. Um, I just thought it was really unfair uh, that it landed on them. And Dave Scott thought it was unfair too. And many years after the fact, when way after it was way too late, um, uh, he was exonerated, and they basically said, look, he didn't do anything that wasn't being done and known was being done by everybody else. So that's a great question. Let's see.